Hello everyone, my name's Pete McLean. I'm a business advisor here at Bright Red Triangle, and Bright Red Triangle is part of Edinburgh Napier University. We help students, staff and alumni set up their own business or run their own business. So please come and get in touch with us. We've got 3 business advisors, so we can hopefully help you with lots of different questions. If not, we've got an amazing network of alumni and professionals. So if I can't answer the question, I'll definitely get someone that can try and answer the question for you. So please get in touch with us. We'd be more than happy to help if you're a budding entrepreneur or a current entrepreneur. So today we're going to talk about time management and how important it is. Some of you might be really good at time management and always on time to meetings and always get their work done and always get your essays in and coursework in on time. Some of you might be the students that maybe leave it to the last minute and do an all-nighter. But hopefully today, for about 10 minutes, we're going to discuss a few things for you to think about time management and hopefully become a bit better at it. So let's get started. So a bit controversial, but my suggestion is to burn your to-do list. So many people do to-do lists. In retrospect, you write the to-do list once you've done the jobs so you can get that big buzz of ticking things off the list. Some people don't do a to-do list at all. I used to do a to-do list and it quite more often than not made me feel a bit anxious about all the things I've got to do. I'd maybe not put the difficult stuff on it. So maybe the best way to term a to-do list is maybe a should-do list. And we always write the things down that we want to do, but do we actually tick them off and get things done? Does it help you get things done? So time is absolutely your most precious asset. You can't get more of it, and everyone in the world has the same amount of time, the same amount of minutes and seconds in every day. So you can look at some of your idols maybe in the business world or the celebrity world. Even thinking about people with very, very big jobs, prime minister, etc., etc. Everyone has absolutely the same amount of time. So there's no advantage that that person's got more time than me. So I just want you to think about that for a second. Certainly when I actually wrote it on the slide, it made me stop and think that actually everyone's got the same amount of time and there's some people achieving a huge amount. Am I achieving what I have in my potential to achieve? And I think it all starts with your mindset. So are you currently that sort of person that is of the mindset asking the questions, well, why do I need to do a to-do list? Or why do I need to have a calendar? Or why do I need to communicate to my team that I'm doing this and I'm going to be here on this time? Why is it important? So maybe if you're of that mindset, it's something you maybe need to start thinking about having a bit of a mindset shift. How are you approaching time management? So like I said, how do you ask questions? We all have friends and family members that are maybe always a bit negative. Why should I get out of bed in the morning? Why should I do this? They're probably not in the right frame of mind. It's actually getting yourself into a positive mindset. So having that shift towards being positive, the sort of I'm going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to achieve this. And in some of the other small videos that we're producing, we're going to look at project management and how important actually time management interlinks to all these other elements within the team. So my number one recommendation is to run a calendar. How many of you run a calendar just now? Yeah, maybe some people run calendars and maybe are practicing this. So well done to you guys. But I would imagine the majority maybe aren't using a calendar or partially using a calendar. So why use a calendar? My recommendation on using a calendar is if you can measure it, you can improve it. So if you're writing down every day, and I mean everything, if you're exercising, putting some time aside for that, if you're spending 30 minutes in the library, reading a specific article, if you've got tutorials, lectures, but also the social stuff. It's important to analyze how you're spending all your time. And actually, just to touch on, which I think is extremely important, is how much sleep you're getting. Sleep is so important, and that's actually probably a topic for another 10 minutes. But if you're not getting enough sleep, you're not going to be performing. And hopefully, with time management, you'll be identifying how much sleep you're getting, and that the more sleep, the better. But if you're getting 4 or 5 hours of sleep, I don't think it's enough for you to function to your top ability. So just something to think about there. So track all your time. It will really help. How many times have you heard this? I don't have time. And actually, it's one of when we look at working in a team, it's maybe something that crops up more often than not when you're asking a colleague or a fellow student to do a task or finish something. Oh, I didn't have time last night. And actually, in my mind, the words I don't have time just means it's not my priority. It's not at the top of my list. It's not something that's important to me right now. So that's an important way to think of it. If we all have time to do the important jobs, but it's whether you want to do them or not. So how many of you watch Game of Thrones? I bet most of you have. How long do you think it is? I've sat there and watched the whole of Game of Thrones on the sofa. So I was surprised to find out. Any of you want to hazard a guess? Well, once I Googled it, I found out that Game of Thrones was actually back to back. If you sat and watched every episode back to back, it's 2 days, 15 hours, and 30 minutes. I mean, how much time is that? That's a huge amount of time. So imagine if you're trying to introduce something into your day-to-day planner, or learn a new skill, or get some work done. Maybe if you hadn't watched Game of Thrones, you could have split those 2 days, 15 hours and 30 minutes up into maybe half an hour chunks where you're doing a specific bit of work, or you're learning a new skill, or you're getting some exercise, or maybe you're actually just going to bed earlier and looking for some more sleep. So just a kind of way of thinking about it. I was going to go down a black hole of Googling lots of different things that I've certainly watched on television and find out how long they were, but it's quite overwhelming. But what I'm also saying is it's absolutely fine to have some time off and relax and switch off. So I'm not saying don't watch Game of Thrones or don't watch your favorite TV shows. What I'm probably saying is, if you say you don't have time to do certain tasks, maybe look in your calendar if you're writing everything in where you could maybe steal some time from. Maybe you're watching TV for 4 or 5 hours. Maybe you can cut an hour off that, 2 hours off that, and get some of the important stuff done. But I suppose it's what you deem is important. So as I've covered, I absolutely think you should be burning the to-do list. I think if you're writing a list, quite often half the list is things that you've done already, and you just get that big buzz of ticking it off the list. And I think the to-do list can often just be lots of tasks, and you don't really know, find it quite overwhelming, keeps you quite anxious. But actually, if you segment your week, your month, to the task that you need to achieve, so bearing in mind the project that you're just about to tackle, once you've identified the various tasks you have to do to complete the project to a very high level, maybe once you've been allocated your jobs, maybe have a look at your next 4 weeks and really block off some specific time to look at that and get those jobs done. So please don't put them in a big list at the back of your folder and forget about them. Certainly not effective. I don't know if any of you heard of diary blocking. Diary blocking is ultimately blocking parts of your diary out to do specific jobs. And it's something I've started to do in the last 6 months, and I found myself being a lot more effective with my time and actually spending less time doing things. So if I set aside an hour to maybe do this and talk to you, I have made sure that there's no distractions. I know exactly what I'm doing in that hour. I don't jump onto the BBC News website, have a little Google and see what's going on in the world, or look up my hobbies. I know for that hour between 9 and 10, I can get in there, get the job done. I know exactly what I'm doing. and I'm focused, and I think that will have a huge effect on your outcome and productivity. Anyone heard of this phrase before? Eat that frog. Eat That Frog is actually a book written by a famous author, and I've got that in the next slide. So I would very much, if time management, self-development really interests you, I would very much recommend looking at that. Eat That Frog is ultimately, everyone has jobs to do, but my number one bit of advice is the task that you don't want to do and you're least looking forward to, put that in your diary for first thing. Eat that frog first. You know, you don't want to do it, but I promise you, once you've done that in the morning, it will be a much better day. You'll be hugely more productive. Um, you know, if it's a call you don't want to make, we work with lots of businesses, and if you get into a bit of bother and you need to talk or collect some money or talk to HMRC, which are all not as bad as you think it is, but it's something that weighs on your mind, get that call done first thing, 9 o'clock, get it out of the way, and I promise you'll be so much more productive in your day. Make it an absolute routine that the tough tasks are done first and in the morning. Everyone's minds work slightly differently. I like doing creative stuff in the morning, so I put that in the morning. Whereas I get a bit tired, need that 3 o'clock coffee in the afternoon, so maybe do less skilled tasks in the afternoon. So take action absolutely immediately, and practice. This takes practice. Time management is a skill. It's like anything else. It needs to become routine. So just practice over time, you will get better. And I promise, if you practice over the next 4 weeks, popping things in your diary, blocking things out, and being very specific in what you want to achieve, I promise it will have a really positive effect, and it'll become easier, and it'll become better, and it'll become natural. So just sort of bear that in mind. Here's the book by Brian Tracy, Eat That Frog, Get the Important Things Done Today. It's absolutely a fantastic book. I think it's also an audio book, so if you're out walking the dog or going for a walk and clearing the head, pop it in your ears. I promise it'll make a massive difference to your life. So there, we've tackled to-do lists, a bit on time management, but it's also, as you're working in teams in this project, communication of time management. So important to speak to your fellow students, the people you're working with, the partners, and the lecturers, teachers, and support staff. Communicate what you're doing. If you don't let other people know what you're doing, it'll be much harder to look where you're going to fit things in. So what I would do is try and work as a team, work out when you're doing things and what works for you, and communicate when you're doing things. And then I promise there'll be less fallouts, and you'll become a much more productive team, and actually probably have to spend less time on it because you'll be very clear on who's doing what and when. So thanks for listening to this very short snippet on time management. If you've got any questions, feel free to email us. Make sure you check out Bright Red Triangle. We're here to support entrepreneurs. But it's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you today. Let me know how you get on, and best of luck with your time management.